To host one of the fashion industry's most talented designers, Byron Lars. Byron started designing his own label in 1991, and his label has now transformed into a trend-setting women's wear collection. Byron is a family friend, and I've long hoped to share his talent and his experience with you all. But we're also here today, and we're very lucky to welcome back one of our own, Satchel Lee, who graduated from Dalton in 2013. Satchel is currently a junior at NYU, majoring in film and television, and when she was a student here, she was the head of the fashion club. And so it's my distinct pleasure, therefore, to bring the two together today on stage for a conversation about fashion, art, and everything in between. So let's give a warm welcome to Satchel and Byron Lars.
Like fashion.
Exactly. Hello, everybody. Hi. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. I would like to thank you all for being so enthusiastic because, you know, in the fashion world, people are very blasé about everything. So thank you.
Yeah. Good energy.
Yeah.
So we just want to talk to you and see what this is all about. I guess first, can you tell us how you got started in fashion and how you kind of came to do it as what you do?
I got started probably officially when I was 15. Probably about your age, and I wanted a pair of pants, and my friend sewed, so went to reason that she'd make them for me, but no. She was like, I will not make you the pants. I will show you the ins and outs of working with a sewing machine, but you're on your own. So she taught me how to sew. I made pants, kids' school all done. Oh, I love this. Start making pants for kids, you know, making a little money. And then I thought, you know what? I'm gonna amp that up to prom dresses. I think you can get paid more for that. So I did, you know what I mean? Made patterns out of newspaper and just kind of like fake and bake. And then the dresses got good reviews from the other kids, and then I got more orders, and that's when I'm like, I want to do this for real. I went to fashion school. Yeah.
That's great. So how did you, so you said you went to fashion school, so what was the transition like from the prom dresses and then being in this environment where everybody was kind of seriously doing this? How was that?
Well, actually, it was very enlightening going from.
Can you use a mic?
Oh.
Oh, sorry, we have my I'll try to be more like this.
Is that better?
Okay.
The question was, how did I get from prom dresses to fashion school, and what was that transition like? It was pretty enlightening because, you know, of course, I had just been faking it all then, making patterns like newspapers the best way I could. Like, that kind of looks like a sleeve, you know. That looks like a skirt, but like to actually learn the ins and outs and the technical aspect of really making clothes correctly was, you know, just really mind-blowing for me, and it really enabled me to, you know, actualize so many other things that were like in my head that I couldn't do at the time. This was great.
I think we talked before a little bit about what it was like having your work reviewed by the professors, and what that was like, you know, if you thought something was great and they were like, you're not supposed to do this.
Yeah, that didn't go so well. Actually, the first project, we had these weekly critiques. You make a garment over the week, and then like the professor would like have your model come in and stand on the platform in the middle of the class. The class circled it, and she would just like either praise it or rip it to shreds. And my first project, she loved, and I was like, awesome, you rockin' this. Next one she hated. Next one she hated. Long story short, she hated every project after that, and then I started to think, you know what? Maybe I'm not so great. Maybe this is not really for me. And at the end of the year, they had like an end-year show where outside industry came and like and judged the same group of garments from all of us. And I want that's the show. The same thing. But that's not to say that they were so great or that they were awful. It was just like a real lesson. And they're like, you know, some people don't like it, other people aren't. But you got to stay the course and believe in what you're doing, you know, in spite of that. I'm not saying not to listen to people at all, but, you know, just take what you can use to improve and discard the rest, you know. That was a valuable lesson early on, and I really want you guys to hear what I just said and take that with you with whatever you do out there. There'll be a lot of naysayers, you know what I mean? But like, we don't know what you have in those brilliant heads that are gonna like change the world. I haven't changed the world and don't have any plans of doing that anytime soon, but you may.
So on that note, how do you measure success then?
You know, honestly, success for me has can be as simple as like, hey, I drink this great color today and I'm really happy with it. You know what I mean? Because I had a notion of success when I was younger that like, you know, you had to have X amount of dollars, X amount of stores, X amount of this and that. And I came to learn that all those things, I mean, they can happen and then they happen and then they go away. You know, you succeed. I don't want to say you fail. Because like everything that you may perceive as a failure is a part of the journey. But yeah, I think success, true success, is being able to do what you love every day and be blessed enough to make a living at it.
Byron, use the mic.
Sorry. Better?
Yeah. Okay, great. So let's talk about the clothes a little bit. I mean, everybody looks fabulous.
You guys do look fabulous, actually. And I'm not taking credit for that. I mean, like, honestly, when Steven talked about this project, me and Sheila, my colleague, we picked a bunch of clothes that were like completely wrong for this. They were like boring and black and New York. And the kids came and they had so much personality in life. And that really like made us make different choices. And that really brought this whole presentation to life.
So then who's your audience then? Who are you making clothes for?
I make women's clothes. But then you know what? When Matt signed up for this, I thought, you know what, a lot of our stuff is like unisex enough for him to rock it. And like, you know, when he came to the studio, like I mentioned David Bowie in passing, and he was like, he knew everything about him. Some of you may be like, who? You know, he recently passed away, but he was like a brilliant artist, brilliant musician, all that. But he was very stylish and very fashioned. So I'm like, Max didn't have that hat before he mentioned David Bowie, but after that, I'm like, I think he needs the hat. So that's how that came about. But in answer to your question, make women's clothes and who's my customer? Honestly, I'm learning more and more every day that she is like everything from a professional go-getter to a stay-at-home mom that wants to aspire to that kind of look. She's sometimes like a kid with really generous parents. You know, you know, and yeah, she's kind of everybody, but I think the one thing that my customer, one common denominator is they all really want to wear clothes that make them look better. You know what I mean? We have a lot of inner structures and proportioning that really like kind of helps. She look nice.
So where do you find inspiration then for each season?
Inspiration can come from anywhere. Usually we start with fabric, like go into fabric vendors and they'll show us like all they've been working on, and sometimes like some things are so inspirational and magnificent. Sometimes they're as boring as watching paint dry and you gotta get it somewhere else. I get a lot of inspiration from my customer and how they interpret these clothes. Sometimes like, you know, we'll make a dress and she's like, wow, they're wearing that as a coat. They just wore the dress open and they got pants and a t-shirt under there and it's fabulous. Note to self. I don't like that next time. It's, you know,
So, as an African American designer, do you feel that you have some sort of responsibility to African American women, people, because there isn't, you know, a big kind of grand designer. There isn't that one person that we can all go to and claim. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying, and I think I don't necessarily feel this like overriding responsibility to like represent like African American women and African American designers. I just think by default that kind of happens on one level because, you know, all my references are from, you know, my childhood and these are the women in my life, but honestly our brand is, you know, multicultural, and I really like to reference, you know, I really like to represent everybody as part of our, you know, product mix because I so oftentimes like remember like African Americans being excluded from the equation, from the fashion equation. So I never wanted to be that guy to do that on the flip side of it, you know? So yeah, we do cut though for a real body. There's always a little extra for some booty. So that's certainly unique. But now, I mean, kind of everything has a little booty. So management really crosses it over.
Okay, so can you talk to us about the collaboration you did with Barbie?
Yeah, I did a series of collectible Barbies. Mattel called me, like, hey, you gonna do a Barbie? It's like, I knew it was called a black designer, they wanted a black Barbie. I'm like, cool. And I made one, and it did pretty well. It wasn't really fun that first Barbie, I gotta tell you. There were a lot of like old Barbie dolls that had a whole lot of like outmoded ideas about who she was and what she could be and what she could wear. And they were pretty out of sync with probably most fashion people that would want to like take her further and make her more, you know, modern. So, you know, we did it and it sold really well. So there was another doll, supposed to be a one doll deal. Anyway, there were 3 of those kind of like lackluster experiences for me with Barbie that did sell very well, but then it led to the 4th, which is another because a lot of people left, retired, and there was a whole new guard that had a whole new openness to like possibilities of her. And I was able to, at last, make the darkest Barbie at that point that hasn't been on record, like a wet black. You know, I've been dying to do that for seasons. I'm like, you can't photograph her. You can't light it properly. I'm like, look, they can light a person. I'm sure you can light a piece of plastic. Well, I'm not going to complain about the hours logged in where you set it light, right? So anyway, we made her. She was awesome, I thought. I was really happy with her. And she sold like gangbusters, and then it was just like the floodgates open. We just kind of do whatever we wanted. And of course, the design team that like is responsible for like actually fabricating those dolls, they were just like, thank you so much for like, you know, just the opportunity to do something else. Since then, you know, she's moved along, and I just saw the other day, this week, that they have a group, all of my Barbies have kinky hair, by the way. They're all black because they need me to do more blonde Barbies. And I just really, it was really important to me that, well, they were all kinky after the old guard left. That's not fair. I see an opportunity, and I took it. Anyway, now